What's good, guys? Welcome back to episode 4.
Four.
Coincidentally,
Quattro.
it's July 4th.
It is not July 4th.
Next Friday.
No, well,
This Friday,
Friday.
actually. So
This
yeah,
coming Friday.
it is, that's a huge coincidence. Because,
huge coincidence.
Yeah. So,
okay, so this episode is called Unfinished: The Art of Failing. The Art of Failing Forward. Because it's not always about the mistakes that we make, but how we respond from those mistakes.
exactly.
But we'll get into that here in a little bit. Like you said, it is the 4th of July coming up. What is your favorite part of the 4th of July?
I'd say either the fireworks at the end or the really nice weather that we have, and we can just enjoy it outside.
I do enjoy that. For me, my favorite part is the rodeo. It's just always been the
on
best part.
July 4th?
Well, not necessarily on July 4th, but like leading up to it. Honestly,
Okay.
July 4th is probably one of my favorite holidays.
Yeah, same. It's, America's birthday.
America.
Yeah.
And speaking of holidays.
Oh, that's a tough transition.
Like, you know what I'm going to. I mean,
goodness.
you do know I'm going to, but they don't.
Dude.
Drew Holiday.
That was tough. That was a good transition.
Like, you didn't even let me get to the transition yet. But yes, Drew Holiday.
Oh my goodness.
Coming to the Blazers. Now, the reason I want to bring this up is because in our last episode, in the last newsletter, we sent out a video with Drew Holiday's defense. And so, like, kind of like put it out there, and like all of a sudden he's here.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if, like, this week, if we put out, like, Giannis.
Yeah.
If Giannis will all of a sudden be here. So
maybe.
But no, that's not our newsletter this week. Our newsletter this week is about mental toughness, and we'll get into that a little bit.
Giannis is pretty mentally tough. So
he is.
he's called the Greek freak. So.
Yeah, no, not that he's not mentally tough.
I think you could put him in there.
Sure, but the video that I found doesn't have him.
No, you should find a different one.
Well,
let's do that.
You can spend your time doing that if you like.
Yeah, I'm good.
Exactly. So, okay, what's going on with real estate for you? How's your real estate class coming?
Well, it's going along. I am about 3 units in to my first 30-hour course thing. And I like it, you know. It's hard, it's mentally challenging.
Why is it mentally challenging?
Because it's just a bunch of blah blah blah
legal jargon.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you've learned from it so far, though, like this last week, since the last time we did this?
I'd say I learned about like what to there was something on my arm. What to like expect kind of in like real estate transactions.
Okay.
I also didn't necessarily learn. They were going more in depth into what I was learning about the week before that, with like trustees, trusters, and beneficiaries. But I learned more with your real estate team and what they were and what like to expect of mortgage lenders and everything like that.
Yeah. So, this class that you're going through, a lot of it is like legal stuff, and the practice of real estate has very little to do with the stuff that you're learning in the class. Like, that's what everybody's going to tell you is like, you need to know this stuff. It's on the test, but in the actual practice of real estate, it's like, yes, you have to follow those rules, but like actually transacting is different. So as I told you, I'm working on getting my principal broker's license. And one of the things that I learned yesterday was that when you need to have a contractor's license, so like a construction contractor. So like if I buy a house and then I fix it and then I live in it, that's fine. I can do that. I don't need a contractor's license. If I buy a house and I fix it and I rent it out to renters, I don't need a contractor's license for that. But if I buy a house to flip it, so buy a house, renovate it, and then sell it, I do need a contractor's license. Even if I'm just doing like, I'm updating some of the electrical stuff and I hire an electrician to come in and do it, I have to have a contractor's license to do it.
Okay, now let's say you were buying the house for you, right?
Yep.
You weren't planning on selling it.
Correct.
But then you were like, oh yeah, I actually want to sell this house. Do you still need a contractor's license for that?
Well, that's kind of a gray area. And I'm not going to say on this podcast whether or not you can. But that we'll just say that's a good question, though.
Okay.
Good question that would need further discussion. The other thing that I learned that I thought was very interesting that I kind of forgot about is that we have standard form contracts that we use, like to buy representation agreement or a listing agreement or whatever it is. It is not our job to thoroughly go over the contract with them. It's our job to just kind of give a broad overview, because if we go through thoroughly, we're then practicing law.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, yeah, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, no, me neither.
No.
I don't want to practice law.
I don't.
Sounds terrible.
Order in the court.
Okay, so let's get back to this week's episode, this week's newsletter, right? So
let's get back to it.
The art of failing forward. I used to have a podcast called Backseat Drivers,
right,
with Will, my business partner for Driver Ed.
So first, did you make this quote up? Was it your quote? Was it your original thought?
I believe so.
No, that's what I was wondering.
I don't remember. I didn't.
You didn't look it up.
I didn't look it up,
right?
And I don't. But I'm not saying I'm the only one who ever thought of this.
Right.
But it was.
But you didn't see it anywhere.
Not that I'm aware. Maybe it was subconscious that I've seen it somewhere.
It's on the old brain.
Yeah.
That you thought of it.
Yeah. But success through failure was what I thought we should have called the podcast. We call it Backseat Drivers because we're driving school. It's kind of a But I thought success through failure because we failed so much in what we were doing, but we learned from it and we grew from it. And I think a lot of people in business, in entrepreneurs, there is a lot of failure. If you think of an iceberg, all you see is the tip. Like sometimes you see all the success of somebody, but you don't see everything that went into that success.
Right. Yeah.
So
I agree with that. I think that's a good point, that a lot of times you're not looking at what someone went through to get to where they're at today. Like there's a guy, the NBA draft just happened, right? So there's a guy who you would never know by just looking at him and seeing where he's at right now. But he's saying that he lived off a generator for 6 years or something like that.
A generator?
Yeah, he lived off a generator for 6 years. And that's what he was saying, or six something.
I don't know what you mean by a generator.
He lived off a power generator.
Okay.
For 6 months or 6 years, something like that. He lived off a power generator for a long time.
His body, or where he was living?
Where he was living, not his body.
Okay.
What?
Oh,
why would his body be hooked up to a generator?
I didn't know if he was dying or what.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the.
No.
So he had a hard life.
Yeah, and then he was telling how he didn't how he how he was not, how he wasn't really doing anything with basketball.
Okay.
Because they were poor, right?
Okay.
But then he came back and now he's in the NBA, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
And I just thought it was crazy. You would never know by looking at him that this dude didn't even he didn't he put in the work behind the scenes to get where he's at. Especially he was poor, he couldn't really do anything at first, and then he had to regain all those years that he lost.
Yep.
and continue forward.
Yeah. No, I mean, so much of what we do and learn from in mistakes, we can either the pain of discipline or the pain of,
you can either have
the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Yeah. And oftentimes unfortunately I live with the pain of regret all the time. Any advice that I'm giving here in this podcast or this newsletter is not something that I learned the easy way or that I've always practiced. It is, or that I've even arrived at having or I'm really good at it now.
Right,
This is just stuff that I've learned. A lot of it I've learned the hard way, and a lot of the stuff is I know intellectually the right thing to do,
right?
But then to actually walk it out and do it, that becomes more the hard part.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree with that. You gotta learn the hard way sometimes.
You gotta own up to your mistakes. And so the owning up is the admitting that you've failed or that you were wrong. And
it's definitely the hardest part, because it's pride, like we talked about in the last episode. It's a pride issue that if we didn't have pride in us, we definitely would be able to just admit whenever we were wrong.
Right. And so that is well, I don't know if it's the hardest step, and I've been struggling with this one too, because that is a hard step because there is that pride involved.
Mhm.
But then there's an even harder step, and that is to do something different, to stop and to turn and to repent and to go the opposite direction.
So not just admitting you're wrong, but going and turning from that sin.
Correct. Or not even sin.
but
Well,
yeah.
It's just interesting because in the sermon yesterday, Aaron talked about how sin is just missing the mark.
Right.
And I mean, I miss the mark every day, all day.
I mean, yeah, everyone sins every day.
Right. And so missing the mark is a common occurrence. And so to stop and to try and be better. Like, let me give you an example. Like, we talk a lot about being consistent on this podcast.
Right.
I honestly am not that good at being consistent. I know that it's the thing that I need to do that's going to get me to where I want to go, but I'm not very good at it.
Why not? Why do you think that is?
Because it's hard. Like, sometimes I have doubts. Sometimes
about what though? Like,
okay, well, let me give you an example.
Yeah,
like,
I want an example.
Today, I was like, you know what? I don't know if we should do the podcast today.
Why not?
Well, I was like, well, it's the 4th of July. Maybe not.
It's not the 4th of July.
Well, the 4th of July week.
Okay, well, you just corrected me on that, so I just want to get that out.
Yes. So, maybe we should take a break, or maybe we should not be doing this every week. Maybe we should be doing it once a month. And
once a month?
I know, bro. I'm just telling you what I was thinking and my thought process.
And you didn't discuss it with me?
Well, because these were internal thoughts.
You could make them. You could make them external.
I could.
But
the other thing too was like, what is the reason that we're doing this? Is this for fame and for glory? No, this is for honestly, one of the biggest reasons I'm doing this is to be with you, like to spend time with you. And so ultimately that's why I think I decided to, and also to say, I need to be consistent,
right,
and to show up and to do the hard things. So that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, if we talk about being consistent, we actually gotta follow and not be hypocritical,
right,
of ourselves, and not be consistent, but talk about being consistent.
Yeah,
that's just using your words and having them be empty words.
What is something that you struggle with between the right thing to do and then actually doing it?
Well, right now, taking Scout on a walk. Scout is our dog, and I say right now I don't want to take him on walks, and so I take him on like short walks instead of like walks that I should be taking him on. So I need to do better at that and be more consistent about waking up earlier and doing the hard things.
So maybe that's more where this lies at for you, is the waking up earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I like my sleep. I like my bed,
Oh, I get it, man. Yeah. I have struggled with waking up early. I mean,
I'm not a morning person.
I am not a morning person either.
Yeah, I can't just like wake up, do like 1,000 push-ups, and then get my day going.
Well, you just gotta... Can you just do 1,000 push-ups a night?
Well, I do 1,000, 5,000 push-ups.
Right,
but,
right. Yeah. No, I get it. I am not a morning person either. I like my sleep, but and I used to be terrible about it. Like, I would let my alarm go off for days, sometimes hours, and it would be very upsetting to my wife, who would have to listen to it. There was a song that I used to play for my alarm by DC Talk.
Oh my! I remember that song. We don't need to sing it. Wait, who sings it?
DC Talk.
Yeah, let's leave the singing to them, please.
Okay. Anyways, so I have gotten better at it. I've been trying to wake up about 7:15, which I know is not early for a lot of you. A lot of you are like, that's late, but for me, 7:15 is early. And I have had to do things like put my alarm clock across the room, so that I have to actually get up out of bed and hit the button, and then from there I have to then just get in the shower. I can't now. Do I get back in bed sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. But that's when I know that I have failed, and I have to just hit the button and get back and get in the shower.
All right. Now what? So let's say someone is struggling with that.
Mm-hmm.
What would your advice be? Like, let's say they have a small room, they can't exactly put it across the room, or else the across the room would be right by their bed. Like for me, my alarm is my room is not small, but it's not big.
Right,
You
but
know,
your alarm is somewhere right now where you have to
right? I
get
have to
up.
get up out of bed,
Yeah.
but like,
So then once you hit that button to stop it,
Mhm.
you just keep walking out the door.
let's keep walking out the
You
door.
just keep walking out the door.
Okay. Well, let's say someone's room is small. Like, just hypothetically. Just
Then to
hypothetically.
put the alarm outside the room.
But then you can't hear it.
Well, so there's an app that I had. So I don't sleep with my phone next to me anymore, but
Mhm.
there was an app that I was using, and it makes you do math problems to turn it off. And if you don't do it or get it wrong, then you can set like the difficulty of the math problems, or it could also be like you do jumping jacks or something to be moving. But there are options out there.
I see. All right. Yeah, you just gotta look for options to be disciplined.
Right.
Because
So
if you're not looking, then you're not really being disciplined.
correct. So there is an author called James Clear. He is the author of Atomic Habits,
Mhm.
and he talks about habit stacking.
Mhm.
So, right, like the habit is you get out of bed to turn off your alarm.
Mhm.
Okay, so then the next habit to habit stack is then to just continue walking out the room. Like that's the second habit, and then after that, you get in the shower. I've been starting to take cold showers in the morning.
Cold showers,
Cold
really.
showers, yep.
Okay.
Couple minutes of just pure cold.
Pure cold.
And
Why don't you just take ice bath while you're at it?
well, that would be a lot more work. That I'm just trying to just.
Oh, a lot more work, huh?
Well, it costs a lot of money. I don't need to take
Oh,
an
okay.
ice bath.
Okay, that's fair.
It's not about recovery. This is about
Yeah.
doing hard things
That's
as well. About being disciplined.
Mhm.
Um, so, what are some mistakes in basketball or as an athlete that you have faced that are hard to recover from? Like, so maybe like let's talk about mental toughness.
Mental toughness.
Yeah. So like, can you think of
Uh,
a time where during a game you made a mistake and then you kind of just shut down?
yeah, all the time.
Okay.
I missed an assignment on defense, or I let the guy get past me, and then, or I miss a layup, right? It shut down, right?
Yeah.
Or like if you get hurt and like in the ball or something like that, then you might shut down for a while and not want to take any more charges.
Well,
You know.
that's not a mental toughness. That's
Yeah, it is.
well,
Like
I guess
continuing to.
continue not to try and
Yeah.
take the charge. Okay, yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
So they say that the athletics is 90% mental
That's
and
true.
10% physical, and it's hard to train athletes on the mental side of it.
Yeah.
It's I know that when you were playing baseball and pitching, there'd be times where you would get like four balls in a row, and I don't remember what movie it was, but we talked about like clearing the mechanism, right? Like
Flipping the
just
switch.
flip it. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you remember?
No,
Okay.
I remember. I was up there on the mound, glove to my hand, going like, flip the switch.
Yeah.
And I flipped the switch. Boom,
Yeah.
strike. Boom, strike.
It's
boom.
true. Like you would flip the switch and it would refocus. Now, I do find it interesting that didn't work as well in basketball. I don't know if it's because you cared more about basketball than you cared about baseball, but in baseball, you could flip that switch pretty easily. In basketball, I tell you to flip the switch. You'd be like, nah, I can't.
Well, I'm confused with what you're saying. I care more about basketball than I do baseball.
Yeah.
How would that correlate?
Well, because you care about basketball, it's harder for you to flush the mistake because it's a bigger deal to you.
Yeah.
Whereas in baseball, you're like, well, it's baseball.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So what are some like consequences, like the natural consequences that come from dwelling on mistakes and not flushing the mistakes?
Well, if you miss a defensive assignment and then you keep dwelling on it, another defensive assignment missed, another layup missed, another defensive assignment missed, and it spirals out of control. And it's a detriment to your team because you're dwelling on that, and they can't do 4-on-5.
So it's compounding mistakes that happen,
Yeah.
and so we can't let one mistake lead to two mistakes. Same thing in life. We can't let one mistake lead to two.
Right.
The the video that we're sending out in the newsletter this week
Mm.
talks about mental toughness and being able to recover. And the she's a volleyball coach, I think a college volleyball coach, but
Mm-hmm.
she's talking about how one of the things that she does is it's a 3-step process when a player makes a mistake and that they're flustered by it. So it's one is breathe,
Mm-hmm.
two is a word or a couple words like flip the switch, like whatever it is. Although she was talking about like it's more like a feeling, like how do you want to feel like when you, I don't know, I still need to look into that more. But then the last thing is like grounding, like you, for the girls, she's like they
Yeah, I feel like
do
that.
their scrunchie, or a guy they like pull up their wristband, or they like you know clap their hands, or like Kobe Bryant, he would put his jersey in his mouth, like that was his what they call grounding mechanism.
Okay, I see that. I
So
feel like that would be a little easier for girls to do.
well,
I just picture it as just like
you know,
picture where you want to be at. Like,
well,
I just not that that's
no,
like
no, no, no.
bad, but like
So not like that. It's not like so. When you hit a big okay, you hit big time shots and big time moments. How do you feel in that moment?
hype.
Hype.
Yeah,
Okay. So then that would be your word.
yeah.
Your word would be hype. That's trying to get you back to that point where you know that you can do
Mm-hmm.
good things. So for you, it would be take a breath, hype, and then move up your wristband or clap your hands or do
Mm-hmm.
something to get you back into that place where you know that you are who you are.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And the other thing that she talked about, which I think is really important, is that you can't just practice it by doing it in games. You have to actually like practice it in practice. Like so she's like, after a water break, everybody comes back and practices this, call it, flipping the switch. She
Mm-hmm.
calls it something different, but that's basically what it is. This reset to get your mind back to where it needs to be.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh, so we've talked about the mental aspect of mistakes. We've talked about the apology, about follow through, and in real estate, um, there are mistakes that are made. The easiest real estate transaction I ever had was my first one.
Mm.
It was like all cash. There were no issues, smooth sailing, and it's probably the worst thing that could have happened to me for real estate because
Mm-hmm.
I expected everything to be
Right.
that easy,
Yeah.
and it's not.
The okay expectancy.
Right, the okay expectancy theory.
Now, what would you say? Now, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
Off script.
Okay.
What do you think that the hardest challenge has ever been for you in real estate? It could be a transaction. It could be I don't know how to do this. I need to ask someone for help. I can't do this alone.
There's the one that I'm thinking of right now is this listing that's sitting, and the first time we went on the market with it, we got an offer, and it was about 30,000 less than they were asking, and they rejected it. Well, they came back after we rejected it, like, actually, we rethought about it, and we want to accept the offer. Well, they had already moved on, and the buyers had moved on and done something else, and that's the best offer we've gotten. And now it's just sitting, and it's like I am trying to figure out how to get this house sold. We've tried marketing, we've tried open houses, we've tried all these things, but we're up against something that I can't change. So there's 3 things that really sell a house: it's price, location, and condition.
Mm-hmm.
I can't change the location, right?
Well, I mean, you actually can change it. I learned this the other day in his team meeting. You can change the location of a house. It's just very expensive.
Right. So theoretically, we're not
Yeah, no, you're not.
changing the location. The condition is great condition,
Mm-hmm.
and the price is right on point with everybody else. But there's brand new houses being built right behind it with lower interest rate that's being offered with like everything.
So why would you want this older house when you could have a newer house for better?
Well, it's not even that it's not much older. It's like only like 5 years old. But yes.
Well, I mean, you take a new car over a 5-year-old car.
I mean, cars, house is a little different, but yeah.
No.
Yeah. Houses appreciate, cars depreciate. So.
You can drive houses. So.
Okay, so legacy question.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if I stopped hiding in the gap between what I say and what I do?
Mm.
So, do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
What would happen if I stopped hiding in
Hiding.
the gap between what I say and what I do?
Yeah. So, like for
Well,
you, what was the thing? It was getting up early in
yeah,
the morning.
getting up early.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, we talk about discipline on here, so I need to be more disciplined in like that. And I feel like if I got um, if I got out of bed earlier,
Mm-hmm.
then I could have done my chores earlier, um, done everything that I need to, got ready for our basketball later, and then I could have been here earlier instead of being 5 minutes late.
So, what would happen is you'd be on time.
I'd be on
You'd be
time.
able to get more done,
Uh huh.
and you'd
I
be more productive.
I could have even maybe done some more or some more of my real estate class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, once again, just being consistent, and if I can be more consistent, it's that compounding effect
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to stack more wins by being more consistent.
Right. Yeah.
So, all right. Now to Travis's favorite part,
Let's go. All right.
not trivia.
The person who makes it sells it. The person who buys it never uses it. The person who uses it never knows. What is it?
Okay, so the person who makes it sells it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so that could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Person who makes it sells it. The person who buys it doesn't use it.
Never uses it.
Never uses it.
Nope.
And the person who uses it
Uh-huh.
doesn't know they're using
Doesn't
it.
know they use it.
This is
I stumped you on this one.
So
huh?
this is something you make?
Yeah.
Uh
It's gonna make so much sense to you if you figure out the answer.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me ask a clarifying question here. When you say buys it, like are they actually is this something that somebody actually pays money for?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Have you bought this thing that you've never used?
No.
Have I?
Not that I'm aware of.
Huh. This is hard, man. I don't know. I think you got me on this one.
A coffin.
That's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
okay. So the person who builds it sells it because that makes sense. The person who buys it now. I mean, that's not always true. Sometimes some people buy their own. Actually, not really. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job.
I stumped you.
You stumped me. Maybe you stumped you guys out there as well. Okay. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to share?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, let's.
Good.
I'm going to be consistent.
I want to be consistent
when your alarm goes off.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna hit the turn off button and go back and lay in bed.
Okay.
My peaceful bed.
All right. Well, now we're gonna hold each other accountable. So you're gonna ask me next week about being consistent. I'm gonna ask you about
what have I got myself
the alarm. And here's the thing: since we live in the same house, I'm gonna know whether or not you did it.
I must have my alarm later.
All right. Well, thanks guys for joining us. We will see you next time on Elite Moves.
Catch y'all.